Hello, this is Wmpyr. I just finished season one of the show Alone. This is a reality TV show, and I had never seen it before, and it blew me away. It was very, very exciting and fun to watch. I feel that it's extremely relevant to the martial arts. Um, it is about survival, and for me, I one of the reasons why I like Filipino martial arts so much, Kali Escrima Arnis, is because the Filipino martial arts, we train with tactical weapons, right? So we train with weapons, period, and that is connected to the modern weapons, which is the tactical gear stuff that you can see. Um, for example, I've trained with machete, tomahawk, kubotan, tactical flashlight, tactical pen. This all this kind of like modern stuff. And the knives are modern day tactical knives and whatnot. So the tactical gear come into play, and with the tactical community comes the wilderness survival, bushcraft survival, this community too. So to me, all of that come together, and I guess in that sense, um, like the movie The Hunted, it kind of makes sense that they had the tracker, the bushcraft survival with the Filipino martial arts together, and military also. So all three like came together in that movie. Um, all three of those subjects, right? So yeah. For me, survival stuff has always been interest. I'm not good at it, and I don't know a whole lot. And like just watching season one, I felt like there was so much info. Yes, I know it's a reality TV show, but it's still a lot more info and stuff than I know. So like if you are a someone who's really into this kind of stuff, really into like you live in a place where your backyard is like a forest, and you often go camping, like every weekend or something like that. Obviously, you're someone that's like an expert compared to someone like me. And for you, this show might be like the stuff that they're saying, you might already know it. But for someone like me, it's just like, it's a lot of info. I mean, it's so much info that I would watch season one over and over again just to try to soak up some of the stuff like a sponge. It's just so much in there that I feel overwhelmed, honestly. But yeah, so from a technical point of view, that's to me exciting. To learn stuff like that. From a student for life kind of viewpoint, there was lots of stuff to learn. Um, and then entertainment wise, just they're all competing against each other. Who's gonna win? But they all said something interesting, which every single one of them said, we're really competing against ourselves. It's not about competing against each other, but they are competing against each other. Whether they choose to focus on that or not, it still is. There's only one winner. So in that sense, it is a competition that is entertaining to see. Like, oh, how far is this person gonna go? The person that you're rooting for is who? The person that you're not rooting for, or what? Whatever. All that. It does make it exciting, but at the end of the day, that's not the main thing, though. The main thing, is to, for me, it was just seeing the beautiful scenery. That was amazing. And then B is seeing their technique. And then C is the mindset. And oh my goodness, this show, they really show the mindset part. They do a good job like capturing some of that. Of course, I'm sure it's nothing like actually being there, but it is it's really, really interesting to see how each person tackles the situation and what kind of mindset they have, you know. Like you might see someone that comes into the show, and at first I'm like, they're immature, they're annoying. I don't really care for this person. And then as the show went on, I was like, wow, this person grew. Not only grew and matured, um, it's kind of like their mask came off, you know, because and I had a friend, longtime friend of mine, did the Appalachian Trail, the AT, and he told me that when you meet people out there in the wilderness, they're not wearing a mask because there's no need to. In society, you know, back in the cities and stuff or suburbia, we wear masks, you know, because it I don't know, it has a lot to do with like, okay, you know, I'm working this is my job, this is how much money I make, and you know, all this kind of all this non-important stuff. But when you're out there in the wilderness, it's like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're a multimillionaire, billionaire. It doesn't matter. We're all out there. We're all vulnerable, you know, and then that somehow brings it levels the field, I guess. So people take off their masks, and people are. I think he felt like people were more genuine, and that's very interesting. That kind of psychology, you know, and in the movie The Edge with Anthony Hopkins and Alec Baldwin, I believe they said a lot of times that when people get lost in the woods, they don't die because they had to die. It was more like they died out of embarrassment. You know, it's more like psychological. And I had remembered that. I had remembered that saying, and how Alec Baldwin's character broke down at the end. You know, and he basically was like, you could tell he was giving up. You know, the stuff that was on the inside just came out, and it it was tearing him apart. You know, he basically kind of like imploded. So it's very, very interesting. Like one of the things here that it made me ask the question, because I saw the contestants asking themselves this question: why am I here? What am I doing on this show? And like for me, I could ask the same question to myself. You know, why am I here on YouTube making videos? What am I doing? And you know, in the very beginning, I remember the reason why I started. Yeah, I mean, you know, it seems cool to, even back then, it seems cool to have a big YouTube channel and lots of people, you know, are watching your stuff. I wasn't even really, it wasn't even about monetizing, because at the time I don't even know if that was really a thing when I started in 2006. Maybe it was, but that just seemed so far away that I didn't even consider it. But having a big channel where you have, you know, thousands and thousands of subscribers, and people tune in because they're excited to watch your channel, that was something that, of course, was, you know, that, hey, come on, that sounds cool, right? Like people actually care what you're saying, and they're not just care, they find it entertaining, exciting, so they're tuning in. That's awesome, right? But I said to myself, dude, don't worry about that kind of stuff. You know, don't that, you know, you can't do it like that. Like, you see someone that is like, um, maybe they make video games for a living, and you go, man, you got the best job in the world. I want to be you, right? But you don't know, like, you only seeing the good stuff. You don't know that what they had to risk, what they had to go through, the shame, the walk of shames, the all the failures that they had to go through in order to get there. and all you're seeing is, oh, this person made this famous video game. It's part of that production crew and helped program that game or whatever, and now their name's forever on that list, and that's awesome. I wish I want to be part of that. I want to also make stuff like that. Yeah, but you don't know that this person had to endure things, and there were plenty of failures before that. And some of it could have been critical, and there were lots of other people that was going for the same job, and they failed out, but this person was somehow able to get it, and part of it's luck too. So it's that tough. It is tough, in other words, and when things are tough, you start to reflect on yourself. So I knew that going in on YouTube, and I said to myself, I was like, well, look, if I go in here going, I want lots of people to tune into my channel, then I'm an idiot, right? You can't do it that way. Nobody cares, and at first nobody cared. No one watched my YouTube channel. No one even commented. It was nothing, right? I knew that. I knew it was going to start that way, and I didn't know how long it was going to be that way. And in fact, it could have been like that forever. So then I said to myself, then what do I need to do? Well, what I need to do here is I need to make my time worth it. So that's when I started going into like using YouTube almost as mental note taking. So all the videos, it's me jotting down, the stuff that I'm training, the stuff that I'm practicing, the stuff that I'm teaching, and it helps me refine once I have my notes, I can refine it, I can fix it, I can see it. That's also an important part. You watch like professional golfers, they videotape themselves and they watch their swing, they study their own swing. There's kind of the same thing. You got to study yourself. So I was having that record, and also teaching. I'm getting practice teaching. I'm getting practice public speaking, and then I got a little tiny bit of practice learning how to film. A little bit. Not obviously. You look at my videos; they're nothing extensive, editing or anything like that. My lighting or none of that is it's very, very bare minimum, but that was part of my strength, and I'm still continue to do it that way because if it was too much work, I would have quit already. I would have hated it, and I would have quit. So that's one of the things that keeps me going is just to keep it simple, keep it easy, convenient, and that way I could make videos like I'm doing right now, which this is not a problem. But yeah. So I had to ask myself that, it's not about the money. So there were some contestants that said that, at least one I remember, Mitch, he said that. He said, it's not about the money. Oh, yeah, that's the guy that I remember saying that. I was rooting for Mitch. I really liked him. If I were to go learn from one of these guys, I definitely would like to go learn from Mitch. He was amazing. He reminded me of like a Marine sniper. That's what I envision a sniper as was Mitch. And spoiler alert, so I'm gonna, this is already, there's like what, 8 seasons? It says right there, season 8. So I'm talking about season 1. So in the 8th one, not the 8th one, sorry. So the one that I saw, season 1, the winner, Alan was, to me, he was like, so if Mitch was like Marine sniper, this guy was like Special Forces Green Beret. In particular, I would say he reminded me a lot of, like, I know this is a fictional character, but Colonel Kurtz from Apocalypse Now. That's who he reminded me of. Yeah, I know that's a scary. And obviously Kurtz was had some severe problems there, but and I'm not saying Alan does, but it just. his charisma and all that. It just reminded me of the Marlon Brando's character. But yeah, just me watching that, it made me think how Alan kept talking about the psychology part's also important. Like, you got to make sure you have the shelter, you got the water, you got the food, and once you got all that going, and of course the fire. Once you have all that going, the physical stuff, then you also got to make sure that the psychology part is also taken care of, because it's extremely important. So he kept talking about that, and plenty of the other guys, were also trying to deal with the psychology in their own way, and it was very, very interesting to see. Um, you know, and it reminded me of when I was getting ready to compete in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I remember, people saying that fighting is 90% mental, in your mind. It's 90%. Honestly, I think 90% is a bit much, but I can definitely see where they're coming from. It is very, very cerebral. It is very psychological. And so when I competed, I knew that was extremely important when I went in there, and I wanted to have the right mindset. And so, just from, if you study martial arts, and you study the old texts and stuff, the ancient writings and that kind of stuff, then that when the warrior gets ready for battle, the warrior needs to surrender themselves to death, right? Needs to be ready. I saw Mitch do that, right? I saw other guys tap out earlier, and I'm not saying they're a coward in any way. In fact, I think it was awesome that later they admitted, they were like, I was scared, absolutely terrified. I've never been that scared. Like when the bear came over to my camp, I've never been that scared. They admitted that. To me, that was awesome, because I watched another show before this. It was a reality TV show. It was a prison show, and this guy went into prison, and you could tell he was terrified, but he said, "No, I'm not scared at all," and he just BS'd and lied the whole time, saying, I'm not scared at all. I quit because I wanted to, or because I got sick. Not because I was scared. No, not at all. In fact, I was doing great. It's just complete liar. Whereas right here, these guys, that all went home in the beginning, the guys that got eliminated early on, because they were, one guy I remember afraid of a bear, another guy, another guy, I think it was a cougar came over. Yeah, so he was like, okay. Was it that? And then another guy was worried that a tree was going to fall down on his campsite. So, they were all scared, legitimate. I would have been scared too. And they admitted to that. Mitch, I remember, I believe it was a cougar that came over to his campsite, and the cougar was like, right there. And this guy could have tapped out, but instead he said, he was like, I got my flashlight. It comes in. I'm gonna blind it, and then I'm gonna stab it with my knife or whatever, and just let's hope that works, kind of thing. He was like, it's gonna be too close. I can't do the bear spray. I mean, he was ready. He knew he's gonna have to fight to the death. And he was like, well, hopefully I make it. Like, so he was accepting of death. I was like, that's the difference right there, right? So in order to survive an intense situation like that, you really kind of have to welcome the possibility, because if not, the fear is going to overtake, the fear is going to control you. So when I competed in BJJ, I remember the night before, I watched Enemy at the Gates, which was in the beginning. The movie starts off with the siege of Stalingrad, I think. I think that's what it was. And that siege scene is like super intense. It's like as intense as uh, Saving Private Ryan when they reach Normandy. It's like that. It's just a number game, and people are just falling like flies, just dying left and right. Um, you're just reduced to a statistic, and so I watch that scene to help me like accept death when I go compete. And to me that really helped. I was really calm after that. Like it made a big difference, I was like, this is tomorrow, it's going to be like war and I may not make it. And once I understood that, and I was able to see it visually on the screen, on the TV, where soldiers were dying, and I was like, okay, that's gonna be me tomorrow. Then I was like, all right, it really didn't feel so bad for some reason. It calmed me. Yeah. And yeah, sure, I still felt nervous or whatever, but I was fine, So that was very important. The other thing, the second part to that, right? So that's like not letting the fear get to you. The second part is, once I'm in there, what is my goal? What am I there to do? And I remember my instructor Carlos Machado. He was like, don't go in there thinking you're Superman. And he didn't say it to me. He was saying to everybody, but he said, don't go in there like you're gonna go in there, you're gonna throw the guy, and then you're gonna submit the guy like in 2 seconds, or you're gonna take his back and get the rear naked choke. He was like, that's Superman. He's like, don't have that kind of expectation, and that really helped. It brought me back down to like, okay, so I'm gonna play a game where I'm expecting it to go the battle of attrition. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be like stalemate. I can't get anything. I can't get position. I got to pass, and I'm having trouble, struggling. That's what I expected, and that also helped because that is what happened. The guy that I went up against was super tough, and in my opinion, he was the best guy there. In my opinion, the guy that I got on the first round, and he didn't win. His game was kind of like, okay, he wasn't the best guy because he didn't win, but I would say he was the most dangerous guy there. He was a submission player, and so was I. I'm there to submit you. He was there to submit me. The guy that won was the guy that was there to play by points. He was going to win by points. He knew the game. That guy won. In other words, he fought the smartest. So that makes sense that he won. That guy won, but I felt like the most dangerous guy was the guy that I went up against, and I would say I was the second most dangerous guy because we had the exact same strategy, which is we're gonna submit you, and his goal was to win the match no matter what. He was going to win with submissions or go for submissions, and no matter what, that was his goal. And my goal was to survive. It was not to get hurt real bad. Okay, that was my goal. I didn't care about winning. If at the end of the day, if I found myself in extreme danger, I would just tap, So I knew that I could kind of fight like a Russian fighter where they don't submit for nothing. So I was like, no, don't be that way. This is stupid. And if I get what do you call it, an injury that is that's going to be life lasting, that's really dumb. So let's not do that. That was my goal. It was not to cripple myself, because that could very well happen. And so I went in there going, hey, just the main idea is protect yourself. Just survive. Okay. So in that sense, I accomplished my goal. My opponent came very, very close to an armbar, very close. I mean, it started going, and I was like, oh, it's going to snap, He took me very, very close. On the other hand, I took him to that point, oh man, like at least 3 times, maybe more. And one of them, I remember I came so close. He told me later, he was like, you almost had it. And I was like, well, why didn't you tap? I was like, what was I missing technically? And he said, I'm just stubborn, man. I was like, I wouldn't, even if you broke it, I wasn't going to tap. And I was like, oh, okay. Now I get it. That's why you won. That's what I thought in my head. That's why you won, because you wanted that. And I wasn't going to do that to you. Like, I remember going, I got him in an ankle lock, and it popped. It went pop, pop, pop. And I was like, okay, and he wasn't tapping, and I extended him out like crazy to the point where, it was in a completely different position. And then I wanted to change to a heel hook. I was like, okay, if I switch to a heel hook, it's going to destroy his leg. But I was like, A, it's not legal. In the tournament that we did, it wasn't legal. And then B, I was like, I don't want to do that to this guy. I don't know him. I don't need to cripple him, But I cranked the hell out of the ankle lock, and he's not going to tap. So I was like, okay, then you got to switch. This is it. You can't keep going here. And because he's not tapping, obviously. He doesn't care. So then I was like, man, I have to choke him out then. I have to put him to sleep, because I could do the same thing to his arm, and he's not going to tap. I could pop his elbows, and he's not gonna tap. Now, there's worse that you could do. I could pop his. I don't know if people understand what I'm saying. So it's bad to snap the arm, which I snapped his ankle. I popped his ankle, right? But when I'm talking about a heel hook, it's now a rip. So you snap and then rip it, right? Some people always say, no, it's the same. It's both. They're both submissions. You snap both of them. No, the ankle lock is, I'm snapping it in a different way. When you do the heel hook, now I'm applying pressure in a completely different way, and and also to different areas, because that could go to the knee ligament. So if I done that, it was the ankle plus now going into the knee. The heel hook, that's what that does. And possibly even the shin. So I was gonna go worse. You know what I mean? And but then I was like, that A, it's not legal, and B, why do I want to do this to this guy? I have nothing against him. Why? Because I know that really messed somebody up. Snapping his ankle, like popping it like I did, is already bad enough. I mean, that's not cool. His ankle probably won't be the same after that. But to go even more, which I was capable of, and I'm glad I didn't go for it. So before that, I had him in another ankle lock. He actually defended, but he gave up the position because I put him in so much pain that he threw himself off of me, and so I was in half guard, and I got him in an ankle lock, and then so he threw himself off, and then that's when I got on top. And then from there, yeah, I think he started to go for an armbar, and then if I'm not mistaken, I countered that with the ankle lock, and I'm trying to think what other. I don't remember, but yeah. You know what? I think I went for a knee bar before that. Yeah, I went for a knee bar. But anyway, so your mind has to be clear. What exactly are you trying to accomplish? So in a way, he accomplished what he wanted to do. He won, and I accomplished what I wanted to do. I didn't win, but I wasn't hurt. So I wasn't going to sacrifice myself or my body for a win. This guy was willing to do that, So he beat me. So that's at the end of the day, that's what this is. Uh, so it just makes me reflect on that memory. And man, the second tournament I went into was a completely different mental psychological experience. It was a completely different psychological, yeah. In some ways I was in way worse, but in other ways I felt like it was like a mini enlightenment happened to me. But anyway, I'm not going to go into that. I think it would be very, very interesting to see a martial artist come into this kind of TV show, the Alone, and there probably, if there's been 8 seasons, there has to have been, because like once again, all these guys in season 1, they were saying, I'm battling myself, right? They all it's against. It's not against nature. Alan said that. He said if you battle, if it's man against nature, nature's going to win. You're an idiot. You have to blend in with nature. So a lot of guys kind of implied the same thing, that you have to work with nature, okay? But it's a battle with yourself, right? For me, coming from a martial arts background, I understand what they're saying, and I would utilize that, but I would also utilize it's me against these other guys. At the end of the day, it is a competition. So I would think about that too, and I would go, for me, one of the big things is when I'm in pain and I'm, like I'm freezing my butt off and I'm ready to tap out, to call for the emergency rescue, I would go, you know what? If it's this hard for me, it's this hard for the other guy too. The other people are struggling just as much. So when that happens, how am I going to act? Am I going to be like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. This is the worst. This is the hardest thing I've ever done. The weather's so horrible. I can't get a break. Am I going to act like that? Where I'm just, feeling really, really terrible and sorry for myself and crying and whatever? Or am I just going to keep going and just be like, oh my gosh, this is terrible, and just keep going, just muscle through? Or am I going to go, you know what, that's what everybody else is doing? To me, this is where the martial arts part kicks in. That's what everybody else is doing that's succeeding right now. They're just plowing through. They're just marching ahead, right? This is where you go, you know what? No, I'm going to go above and beyond this. I'm going to freaking own this. I'm going to get in the zone. And that is something that you want to try to tap into. And a clear-cut example of that I could give you guys is in the UFC. I remember Masvidal. I know it's super famous today, but back in the day, he came from the backyard fighting, right? From the Kimbo Slice backyard fighting, and he got into the UFC, and he made it. He's a tough guy, athletic, strong and whatever. So he's in there, and then he was average. He was average in the UFC, which is amazing. That's amazing. At that level, you made it, but he was just cutting average. He was nothing special. He was just like everybody else, and it was tough. And I think he understood that. He was like, man, it's tough. When you get to this level, it's super tough. Everybody's good. And that's where he was at. He was just average Joe there. Average Joe in the UFC is amazing, but it wasn't going to take him to, where we know now that he went way up above that. So at some point in his mind, he understood. He's like, the UFC is tough. I made it here. Okay, am I just going to be average and then fade out? Or I need to do something. I need to quit right now if that's the case, or I'm really going to do something amazing. And that's where he knew he had to turn it up. And so, right, like when you're fighting and you're up against the cage and you're resting and it's hard and you're trying to get the takedown and the guy won't give it to you, you're trying to land strikes but he's too close, and it's just a brutal, this is the third round, and you're just going, oh man, this is a tough, ugly match. So at that point the other guy's feeling the same thing. Masvidal said to himself, you know what, this is where I'm gonna knock this guy out right now. I'm just gonna explode on the guy, and he's not gonna be able to handle it. And he did. he did. Not the third round necessarily, but that was like his attitude. He's like, this is this your limit? And everybody else says yes. This is because it's so hard. UFC's hard. This is it. This is the limit. And he goes, you know what? No, this is not the limit. I'm going above this. I'm gonna go way above this. And he started becoming amazing. He started winning spectacular fashion. You could see it. He just turns it up, and the other guy, he just leaves him behind. It's almost like he has a turbo and the other guy doesn't. But it's really, up until then, it's the same. They're the same car, but then he just turned his turbo on. So that mentality for me, I would like to see that. Maybe I'll see it in the other seasons, but in this show, and that's something that I try to use that for myself. Right when other people are going, man, this sucks, this is tough. Anything in life. This could be relationships. This could be anything. And some things are hard because you really become your own worst enemy, where I could maybe conquer something, but I go, I don't want to. I don't like that. And I don't like the situation, and I don't want to fix the situation, and I want to moan about it. I want to bitch and moan about the situation, and so I'm my own worst enemy. I chose that, rather than going, you know what, I'm way, way, way beyond this. I'm way better than this. I can put this way behind me. I could just go higher and higher and higher level, so, I think that just depends, but that's something that I do strive for. Anyway, so that's it for now. It's an amazing show. I definitely looking forward to watching more. So thank you for listening, and take care, folks.